According to Eddie Hearn, Dillian Whyte is in an ongoing legal battle with the WBC, trying to secure himself a mandatory shot at the winner of Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3. Now, I really have to admire Dillian Whyte's determination, his attitude of not taking no for an answer. There's a lot of life lessons that people can learn from looking at somebody like Dillian Whyte, because let's be real, Dillian Whyte is not the most naturally talented or gifted heavyweight out there at all. He doesn't have the quickest hands, the quickest feet, the best coordination, and so on. But through sheer willpower, determination, dedication, self-belief, he has turned himself into not only one of the best heavyweights in the world, but he's also made an awful lot of money along the way. And this current situation where he's in this legal battle with the WBC is just another example of the determination that this guy has. Because a lot of fighters will just sit back and say, oh, well, I did just get knocked out by Povetkin a couple fights back. Let me chill. I don't want to put myself in a bad situation with the WBC where they get annoyed with me. And in some instances, diplomacy would serve you better. But again, Dillian Whyte's determination has got him this far. His won't take no for an answer attitude has served him, for the most part, extremely well. And so in life in general, never mind boxing, even if you're not the most talented person in a particular field, if you believe in yourself enough, if you're determined enough, if you're able to block out all the naysayers and negativity, you'll be surprised what you can achieve. You may be able to achieve more in a particular field than people who are more talented than you, but simply don't have your work rate or determination or confidence, self-belief, and so on. I mean, just imagine, Dillian Whyte had very little amateur experience. And, he came from a kickboxing background and what have you, but when he started, and obviously his amateur career ended, I believe, because they found out he had some kickboxing fights. That's to the best of my knowledge. But when he turned pro with whatever it was, 11 amateur bouts under his belt, he went around sparring everybody. David Haye, Derek Chisora, David Price, the Klitschko's, Mark Potter, you name it, Dillian Whyte was putting himself out there on the gym circuit sparring everybody. And going in, by all accounts. He wasn't there to play, even though these guys were much more experienced than him. A lot of them top professionals like David Haye. Dillian Whyte wasn't intimidated. See, this is why in the lead up to the Anthony Joshua fight, I always thought that was going to be a great fight. People were telling me, Dillian Whyte's going to get blown out in a couple rounds. He's rubbish. He's no good. This is what people were telling me. And I said, nope, I think this is going to be a great fight. I could see what people were saying with regards to the gap in technique. In terms of, coordinate. Just Anthony Joshua's punches look prettier than Dillian Whyte's punches. I can see that. And I could see that at the time. But what other people weren't seeing was Dillian Whyte's self-belief, his attitude. He had a different kind of attitude than most fighters. And a lot of people underestimate that. They're only looking at the technical things and the athletic things. They're not looking at the attitude, the character of the fighter. And Dillian Whyte's character was such, and I'd known that he'd sparred all these different people and he tried to take their heads off in sparring. I thought, okay, this is not your average heavyweight prospect. This is somebody who fancies themselves as much better than that. So I was very much looking forward to the Dillian Whyte-Anthony Joshua fight back in, when was it, 2015 or something, when they fought at the O2. And I even went as far as saying, and this video is still up on my channel, I went as far as saying that I was looking forward to the AJ Dillian Whyte fight more than I was looking forward to Mayweather Pacquiao. And boy, did I get some backlash on that. But Mayweather and Pacquiao were two guys who were no longer at their peak. And they were veterans, wily old vets. And as such, I didn't expect an explosive fight. I mean, Mayweather's not a guy to be in explosive fights anyway. Pacquiao's fights were mostly going the distance by that point. You put the two guys together with all that's at stake, I just didn't envisage an exciting, compelling bout. And I expected Mayweather to win. But with Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte, you had two guys who were young, wet behind the ears, inexperienced, both had it all to prove. And it's in situations like that that you usually get the most dramatic fights. With inexperienced guys, you know, one of them or maybe both of them have a chip on their shoulder. That's when you get the fireworks. And that is what happened in the end with the AJ Dillian Whyte fight. So, yeah, this latest example of Dillian Whyte showing his determination, to me, is inspiring. As annoying as it might be for the WBC, to me, it's inspiring. If you really want something, if you really believe in yourself, if you really believe in your worth, you know your value, you're not going to let people sell you short. You're going to strong arm your way into whatever situation and make it happen. Almost by force. That's what Dillian Whyte is trying to do here. And it's not like he hasn't earned his spot. Of course he has. But the Povetkin loss set him back, clearly in the eyes of the WBC. And Dillian Whyte's like, nah, Star, that's not happening. I want to be exactly where I was before the Povetkin fight. And I want this bout ordered. And obviously Dillian Whyte has been talking about getting himself elevated to full champion and then having the winner of, elevating himself to full champion and then having Deontay Wilder challenge him. Yeah. And Tyson Fury being champion emeritus or whatever. So, and then I think he's talking about what? Tyson Fury fighting Anthony Joshua and then the winner of him against Wilder fights the winner of AJ Fury, something like that. But yeah, that's my take on Dillian Whyte. Now, according to Eddie Hearn, they're looking to match him against an unbeaten American heavyweight called Jermaine Franklin. I have had a look at this guy's record. It's less than spectacular. His last fight was a UD over Pavel Sauer, who has been stopped by several British fighters, whereas Jermaine Franklin went the distance. He had a split decision over Jerry Forrest in the previous fight. And actually, he hasn't fought since 2019. So that's not a good look for Mr. Jermaine Franklin, is it? Being that inactive. Also went the distance with Rydell Booker, Craig Lewis. Yeah, so not a great record. But he is a young guy, I believe. I don't think it doesn't have his age here. In this article, it says he is 27. 27-year-old Jermaine Franklin. Is this even Jermaine Franklin's picture? I don't know. I haven't seen the guy close enough to know whether that's him or not. But yeah, they're looking to get Dillian Whyte out in September. Now, obviously, if Dillian Whyte is trying to get the Wilder fight and be elevated to WBC, full champion, then would that Jermaine Franklin fight still go ahead? I mean, look, being an outsider looking in, I would have thought it's unlikely that Dillian Whyte will be able to get elevated to full champion. Perhaps, best case scenario, they can order that WBC mandatory sooner rather than later. But in terms of getting elevated to full champion, I mean, I'm not wishing that he doesn't get elevated to full champion, but just looking at it objectively, I would have thought it's unlikely. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And let me know what you think about the prospect of Dillian Whyte fighting Jermaine Franklin. Is this a guy you've watched before? Do you rate him? Do you think he's going to be any problem for Dillian Whyte if that fight does happen in September? And also, what do you think Dillian Whyte's approach should be at this point? Do you think he should proceed the way that he currently is, trying to strong arm his way into that WBC mandatory position or even full champion? Or do you think that he's actually shooting himself in the foot a little bit and it's going to cause the relationship between himself and the WBC to sour? That it may cause the WBC to become resentful towards Dillian Whyte and not do him any favors at all. I mean, some people are going to say they haven't done him any favors up to this point, but things can always get worse, right? So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about the whole situation in the comments below. Dillian Whyte, where does he go from here? What should he do next? What do you think of Jermaine Franklin? Drop it all below. I'm in the process of moving abroad, so I need to sell most of my stuff, and that includes quite a few pairs of boxing gloves. In this case, sparring gloves. These are the Vasyl Lomachenko edition of the Rival Guerrero sparring gloves. These were a limited edition. They don't make them anymore. Rival still make Guerreros, but not the Lomachenko branded ones. So these are now a collector's item. So if you would like to purchase these gloves, head on over to the eBay store, which is linked below in the description, and also I'll pin it in the comments at the top. They're still in good condition despite the fact that I have used them. The padding's in great condition, the leather's in good condition. There are a few very small superficial scuffs to these screen printed graphics, but the leather itself is in great nick, the padding's in great nick. You could use them for sparring and training, absolutely no problem at all, or you could keep them as a collector's item because these are very rare now, so the opportunity to own a pair will not come along very often. But this is one such opportunity, so make sure you head over to the eBay store to place your bids, and maybe you could get these signed by Vasyl Lomachenko himself. And of course, over time, they're almost certainly going to increase in value exponentially, particularly if Lomachenko goes on to have an even more impressive career than he's had so far. So click the link in the description or in the pinned comment at the top and check out these gloves on the eBay store. Bang them together again, just make sure yep, see, harder. You can see the padding is good. Padding's still good. All right.